kind of go over the styles and show you the styles that we're teaching today. So let's go back and forth. So I guess we're gonna start with popping. All right, show
popping. You start popping. All right, can you play a popping song?
It's a funk song.
Funk song. All right, so popping is basically a contraction of the muscles. That's it. You're contracting your muscles, and everything is happening instantly.
So locking is a style of dance that came from the West Coast. So popping and locking, not to be confused with pop locking, because that's not a thing at all. A lot of mainstream artists take the term and put it together, but two different dance styles of dance. So locking is a very flamboyant. I won't say flamboyant, but it's really animated and a lot of character. It came from the Funky Chicken. You want to go deeper into history? If you ask your parents about or your grandparents about the Funky Chicken, it came from that. Don Campbell-Lock, the creator of locking. He couldn't do locking. Well, he couldn't do the Funky Chicken, so he was trying to do the Funky Chicken, but it wasn't working out for him. So he kind of created this style of dance. He didn't create it by like, I'm gonna create a style of dance. It came by accident, and then it kind of just picked up. And you've seen this style, it got real popular on Soul Train. If you're familiar with Soul Train, so this style of dance came from Don Campbell-Lock on the West Coast. So, of course, funk era.
It does look like Soul Train.
Hip-hop is a social dance. It's created socially in parties, family reunions, or whatever. Urban dance is something different. I don't know what it is. I can't speak on it. That's something totally different. It comes from your experiences, your freestyle, and just basically the incubation of your city. So everybody's hip-hop looks different depending on where you go. If you go to Memphis, their form of hip-hop is different because of the way they live. Houston's hip hop is very slow, so we did more like stuff like this because that's the way our music is. New York is fast, and you know what I mean. Like, so there's different types, right? So just throw that out there. It's a social dance.
You are now listening to the real.
That's a problem to the real well. Trust I know them 20s real well.
From Chicago, the dance came from, who's from Chicago? Bing, 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 bing. The dance and the foundation came from dancers from New York. So it's a lot of footwork, but it's also more on the body as well. It's a lot of groove, it's groove heavy, but also footwork incorporated into that style of dance. Listen to the music and then see if you can apply, like watch what I'm doing to the music that makes any sense. So you can see the connection between the feet, the body on the music. And it's not as aggressive as hip hop because it's real flowy. I won't say it's real, it can be aggressive, but not as much as like hip hop. Like you're not really attacking the beat because everything is like it's a language. It's real smooth, can be, but it's also based off the feet. The feet brings over the body.
Can I give context?
All of that, yeah.
All right, so you have hip hop, you have hip house, then you have house. The segue in between is hip hop. A lot of the hip hop clubs in New York and stuff were being shut down because, you know, violence or whatever. But those dancers still wanted a place to dance, so they would just go to these house clubs, incorporate the hip hop movement that you saw, the hip hop footwork with the club. House is the cousin of disco. When disco died, it didn't die, right? Those people that were doing disco, hustle and listening to those like funk disco songs, they just started adding faster BPMs and dancing whatever style they were doing. So you see salsa steps in there, you see Irish steps in there, because remember, it's the neighborhood. It's a social dance. So everybody who lived in the neighborhood went to that party, right? So there's influences from all over, including hip hop. Sometimes there's a hip hop bounce to it, which is hip house, where you have the hip hop bounce up top, but your feet are moving in a different way, right? So that's just the segue because of the clubs and disco dining.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, let's stop. No, this is called stop.
Wait for no man. Can't you see that? I've had it down. All your promises, they mean nothing. Oh, tired. Bye-bye, I'm gone. Can't you see that? And I'm trying. Eat it easy. You were lying. After all that, it confused me.
Okay.
You were lying.
All right. Drake covered that history.
All right. Waacking is in. It was started in LA, West Coast. Vogue is East Coast. Vogue
East Coast.
deals with poses, pictures, and frames based after the models in LA. But waacking was called punking because of derogatory term for LGBTQ, whatever. This is the celebratory official dance. This was the dance the LGBTQ community was doing. And it started early 80s, I want to say 82, those clubs, they were doing these balls and whatever, and they were dancing. They called it punking because of the derogatory term, like you would call someone who was a part of that community a punk. So they took it and called it punking, but the first straight dancer to learn it, who was also from Soul Train, Shabba-Doo, he was a locker, right? He locked. He didn't like the term, so he says start like waacking, right? So waacking really is just about making the music come alive. That's what it is, and I learned that from Tyrone Proctor, who was the official whacker for Soul Train, right? I went and studied with him, and waacking is just about making people hear in the music what they can't had you not have been moving, right? I don't want to mystify it. That's all it is. Head to toe, fingers to toes, everything is making the music come alive. And using these pops and snaps and whips and rolls and all of that, right? Play something for me.